Welcome back, folks, for a new episode of Leaked. Now today we'll discuss a new upcoming French tank, the AMX Chasseur De Chars. Oh, my French is terrible. Alright, so the AMX CDC is going to be a premium tier 8 French medium tank, and it looks a lot like the FCM 50T. Now historically, the Chasseur De Chars only existed in blueprints because the resource required to manufacture this tank was pretty outrageous, so the whole idea was scrapped. Now if you look at the name, Chasseur means hunter, and the Chars means of the tanks. So basically this thing was designed to destroy other tanks. And if you look up the Wikipedia, you get a picture of a Yak Panzer 5, which is basically a Yak Panther. So it never existed in real life. Alright. Now on the basis of destroying tanks, the Chasseur De Chars has a very powerful 90mm gun and a very rapid mobility that can go up to 60 kilometers per hour with a power to weight ratio about 35. So this thing was highly mobile, very mobile, but it comes at a cost because the armor of this thing is ridiculously bad. About 30mm at the front and 20mm on the other parts of this tank, so it's made of paper mostly, but it is designed to be rapidly move into position and destroy tanks and rapidly move out, so kind of like a Hellcat mostly. Alright, and here are some in-game models as well as screenshots of the Chasseur De Chars. The first thing you notice is that this tank is huge. Oh my god, it's so big. It's the size of a barn. Jesus. I think it's a little bit bigger than the FCM 50T. So it's a big target. Hopefully you don't miss. Now the maximum thickness of the armor on this tank is only 30mm. So what that means is high explosive would hurt. Really hurt. Because most high explosive has about 60mm of penetration. So whatever type of high X hits you, it does hurt a lot. Alright. Now what is interesting is the design of the muzzle brake, which goes up and down instead of left and right. So the only benefit I can see from this is that the gunner could track his shots after each round more easily because the muzzle flare is going up and down. But it gives the disadvantage of having the gun elevate and de-elevate or depress every time you shoot. So that's kind of weird of a gun muzzle brake design, but alright. And the Chasseur De Chars have very good gun elevation, as you can see here. You can point the gun up from a slope pretty well. And has some decent gun depression. It has 10 degrees of gun depression, so you can stick this gun over a hill, which is pretty nice. And compared to the STA2, oh my god, it's the size of a barn. Jesus, it's so huge of a tank. Oh god, artillery would love this thing. So don't camp, never camp with this thing. It is huge. The size of an STA2 is so small, and the STA2 is not a small tank, so this thing is so big. Jesus. And here are the in-game stats for the Chasseur De Chars. As you can see, it is going to be a premium tier 8 medium tank, so the placeholder gold is around 11,750 gold. But it could get reduced like the Panther 88, which I doubt it. Alright. Hit points is very good, 1400. Engine power is a walloping 1200 horsepower engine. That's the same amount of horses for the KV4. And the KV4 weighs about 110 tons. And this tank weighs only 34 tons. Power to weight ratio is 35.29. That's insane. That's like a tier 3 light tank. This tank is huge though, so it shifts. It shifts like an ogre ninja. It's an ogre, but he's a ninja, so he shifts. It's pretty goddamn huge. Top speed is 57 kilometers per hour forward, which is pretty good. Reverse got buffed to 18 kilometers per hour, so you can reverse out of situations. Hull traverse got buffed to 38 degrees per second, which is good. Which is decent, not good. It's still decent, but it's still better than 34. Alright. Terrain resistance is 0.7 for hard, 0.8 for medium, and 1.7 for soft. So still pretty decent for a medium tank of such big size. So don't forget. Hull armor is 30 millimeters at the front, 20 at the sides, 20 at the rear. God awful. Turret armor is the same, so yeah, high explosive hurts. Now the gun is a 90 millimeter gun. It does 240 damage per hit. It has very good penetration, 212. So the third best penetration amongst tier 8 medium tanks. The best is the Centurion Mark 1, which has about 223, I think. The second best is the STA-1, which has about 218. So the third best penetration. DPM got buffed to 2140, which is good. Accuracy got buffed to 0.32. So it's a sniping gun. It's not bad. Aim time is good, 2 seconds. Gun depression is great, 10 degrees. Gun elevation is 20 degrees, so pretty decent. Hull traverse got buffed to 35.5 and carry about 90 rounds of 90mm ammo, so that's pretty good. View range is pretty decent, 390 meters, and radio range is standard 750. So if you played the Lorraine 40T, this tank feels a lot like that tank, but this tank has 50% better horsepower per ton ratio than the Lorry. So Christ, this thing is fast, but it doesn't turn as fast, so it turns pretty slowly and not as mobile as the Russians. So be aware, they have to make very big turns, but this tank is so huge. It's like an ogre ninja. It's like so big, but he's a ninja and he moves pretty fast. So that's an analogy. It's such a big tank. Alright, and here are some more comparison for the Chasseur De Chars. Now, also note that this tank has very big drive wheels and road wheels, so you might be able to pull off some miracle non-penetrating hits if people shoot at your road wheels. But it also means that it's so easy to detract you by shooting at this giant drive wheel right here. So God, but this tank is still pretty huge. Now let's compare it to something that's big, like a KV-4. So KV Fortress, let's see how big it is. It's almost the same size as a KV Fortress. It's a little bit shorter, but the length is almost the same size. God, let's see Yak Tiger. Where's the Yak Tiger? Oh my God, this tank is huge. Such a big tank. Yeah, it's almost the same length as a Yak Tiger. A little bit shorter, but still pretty huge. So yeah, size is pretty big. Now let's compare with the standard Type 59 at tier 8. Oh my God, the model just broke. So Type 59 is pretty small. Yeah, it's a little bit longer. The height is about the same. That's interesting. So that's real interesting. Huh. The height is about the same, but the turret is a lot bigger. So that's interesting. But it's still a pretty long target. So artillery still love hitting your engine deck or the top of your turret. But Christ. Alright, let's see the DPM and other comparison. So DPM is pretty good amongst tier 8 medium tanks, so that's still pretty good. Penetration is also very good, since most tier 8s have about 180mm penetration on their guns, like all the Russians, the American, the Persian. Same goes for the Chinese T-34-2, as well as the Type 59. And the French doesn't have medium tanks at underneath tier 9, so that's out of the question. The Japanese has actually better penetration, as well as the British. So yeah, pretty good penetration. it does carry 90 rounds, so you can spam a lot of shots. Accuracy is also pretty good, 0.32. Aim time is also good. Shooting is pretty good, but don't shoot on the move. So accuracy shooting on the move is not that good, but you do get 10 degrees of gun depression. Mobility is off the charts, 35 horsepower per turn ratio. So in comparison to the likes of 16, that's the average for all mediums at tier 8, which is crazy. Also, it has a lot of health, so that's pretty good. View range is also decent, but they don't give me the camera rating, so I expect the camera rating to be crap. Also note that this tank does not get preferential matchmaking like the FCM, so it will seat the likes of tier 10s, but you have the mobility to run away, so use that. But the size of this tank is huge. Oh my god, I don't know. It does use APCR. The APCR has only 260mm penetration, so you don't really need it most of the time. And 212 is very good for a medium tank, so you can easily flank around and shoot with your normal AP. Alright, so pretty much a huge target, but it does move pretty fast, so hopefully you hit it. And if you're driving it, hopefully you don't get hit, but it's a big target. And the final opinion about the AMX Chasseur De Chars is that this tank is pretty much a TOG with a supercharged jet engine with nitrous boosts. So that's pretty much it, because both tanks have very good penetration, damage and DPM, as well as accuracy, gun elevation and depression. So basically the Chasseur De Chars trades HP for speed, which is quite alright in my opinion, because both tanks have no armor and is pretty huge. But for the CDC, you can just run away, because you have amazing power to weight ratio and top speed of almost 60 kilometers per hour, so you can easily just run away. Now I think you'll make a lot of money if you play this tank correctly as a role of a support and scavenger, because you cannot go toe to toe with any tanks in the game, not even artillery, because artillery could just one-shot you if you go close enough, because your tank is so freaking huge and have no armor. So don't go toe to toe with anybody, not even light tanks, not even mediums, of course not with tank destroyers or even heavies. So just hide in the back and scavenge kills and damage. So I think you'll make a lot of credits. Now I do find that there is one problem with this tank, and it's not directly related to the tank, because the problem I see is that French line only has 2 mediums, the Lorry 40T at tier 9 and the Batchat 25T at tier 10. So there's only 2 French mediums. The D2 at tier 3 doesn't count. That's not a medium, that's a heavy tank. So yeah, you might have to invest time in the French line for a crew for this tank. So that's gotta suck. But does that mean Wargaming will introduce a new French medium tank line that's upcoming soon to the game? That's gonna be pretty nice. But as it stands, this tank is not bad. If you like the Lorry 40T, this tank is pretty much the same as that tank. You have to scavenge for kills and scavenge for damage, which is pretty much alright. But this tank has 10%, or not 10%, 50% better power to weight ratio than the Lorry 40T. That is insane. The Lorry 40T has about 23 horsepower per ton ratio. This has 35. So this tank is zippy, super zippy. So I think it is worth your money. Now, thank you guys for watching this video, and hope you guys enjoyed it. So leave a comment below on what you think about the Chasseur De Chars and how I'm butchering the French language. I'm messing it up, but leave a comment below on what you think about this super big barn size ogre ninja that can just move so quickly, but still pretty funny. But other than that, subscribe to my channel for more World of Tanks stuff. And before we finish with this video, I'd like to ask you guys to have a moment of silence for the French people that died on Wednesday's attack. So let's take a moment of silence for those who lost their lives. and pray for the ones that held hostage for today's situation. So let's take a moment of silence. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Hate to end it on a somber note, but let's pray for those guys. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.